Hello watch enthusiasts and welcome to Watch Chronicler. On a cold morning in March 2018, I remember standing outside the entrance of Baselworld for my first meeting of that year's show. It wasn't a meeting with a major exhibitor, but rather with a relatively young brand with an interesting new watch. In prototype form, that watch was the Formex Essence, and I was lucky to be the first person to see it. 2 years later, the Essence has become one of Formex's most popular models, as an ideal hybrid of remarkable quality with a construction squarely aimed at extreme sportsmen. There is, however, something else to add to the mix. You see, the Essence was designed on a brand-wide enjoyment of extreme sports, and built for an audience which needed a watch to survive a range of snow-related occupations rather hostile to fine watchmaking, hardly surprising for as alpine a nation as Switzerland. Therefore, Formex have taken the next step, the creation of the Essence in a mix of carbon fibre and ceramic, only weighing 50 grams. To put this in context, to get their Aquaterra down to 55 grams, Omega had to remove automatic winding, the date, and construct their movement dial and case entirely from titanium, whilst shaving additional metal from the dial. That's just how lightweight this 100-metre water-resistant watch is. But let's backtrack somewhat to understand what the Formex Essence is, and why this latest version with a Meteorite dial deserves a second look. Before I begin, I would like to disclose that this is a sponsored review for which Watch Chronicler has received compensation, which allows us to keep making these videos. However, Formex have allowed an entirely free rein over the opinions expressed in this video, a condition which must always be stipulated if a product is to be featured on Watch Chronicler. The Formex Essence really is a watch born of the snow, something reflected in this brand's very name. Formex is a combination of the words forme extrême, this signifying the extreme aspirations of their designs. However, amongst all Formex models, the Essence is perhaps the perfect hybrid. On the one hand, this is a fiercely technical piece designed for the great outdoors, whilst on the other hand, it's one of the most refined pieces at its price range. First, let's consider what makes this watch such a phenomenal piece for extreme sport. The 43mm wide and 10mm thick case of these watches is hardly small, yet needs the space to enclose a clever system to neutralise the shocks which would ordinarily cause considerable damage to a mechanical movement. Under each of these 4 hexagonal bolts sits a spring. When worn tight against the wrist, these springs absorb all of the abuse in place of the far more delicate movement, rather a clever trick and something which gives the sense that this isn't innovation just for show. Speaking of deadening shocks to the movement, let's address that movement, as rather surprisingly for something as beautifully detailed, it's actually one of the least surprising parts of this watch. These watches use Swiss movements based upon the ETA 2824-2, and so offer an 8 tick per second beat rate, automatic and manual winding, as well as hacking too. Now, as you will have noticed, there are 2 variants of the Essence in this video. On the one hand, we have the stainless steel version with a Sellita SW200, and on the other, we have the carbon version with its STP1-11. These are both very similar, but for the additional £655 of the Leggera carbon model, the movement decoration is marginally better and the power reserve goes from 38 to 44 hours. However, both are chronometer certified at a price where virtually no other brand would go to the expense. If nothing else, just look at the blued screws and the fantastic perlage to get a sense of these movements. If you're enjoying this video, please remember to like, share and subscribe, it really helps. Also, follow us on Instagram to always know about the latest releases, and head over to watchchronicler.com to read about all the watches worth knowing about. Beyond the case suspension system, the watches I have here show 2 levels of extremity in the creation of a technical sports watch. The standard watch, available in both chronometer and non-chronometer forms, doesn't allow its sporting credentials to blunt its appearance. Additionally, the case really is beautifully finished. Take the case sides. Not a single brushed area lacks a contrasting polished bevel to offset it and avoid a sharp edge. Now, I'm never keen to treat a watch with hyperbole, because usually there's something just around the corner that can outdo it. However, knowing the way in which brands spread their money, I don't believe that you can find better finishing at this price. A particular highlight is the brushed bezel with one of the crispest edges I've seen, and a polished rim to match the sharp bevel which runs all down the bracelet. To add to a thoroughly impressive case is a bracelet which avoids the criticism all too often levelled at sports watches: excessive heft. Instead, these screwed links are only 5mm thick. With double-sided hinging and curved undersides, they wrap around the wrist to support the case very effectively. The clasp is similarly well thought out, with a butterfly deployant to deliver thinness impossible with an elbow joint, whilst double buttons release only one side, whilst the other is held in place by sprung ceramic beads to avoid wear over time. Paired with a folding link to help an expanding wrist in hot weather, you could also use the second side of the butterfly clasp to get the watch over a thinner ski jacket. In any case, swapping in an alternative strap requires no tools thanks to the mechanism in the end links. The steel version, though, is only the beginning. You see, where this steel model offers a technical package with a very approachable and, it must be said, high quality construction, it's the Essence Leggera which really excites me. Housed in a marginally thicker case, this watch takes the attributes of the Essence and uses modern technology to enhance the package and reduce its presence on the wrist. To achieve the former aim, the bezel and crown are zirconia ceramic in order to make them virtually impervious to scratches, with a hardness comparable to sapphire crystal. Whilst this does increase brittleness, in practice it would be rather difficult to shatter either. An additional benefit is that the sharpness of the brushed and polished surfaces is pretty much unbeatable. Furthermore, the case now incorporates crown guards to protect a taller crown than before for ease of use on a more uncompromising watch. Something often ignored about a sports watch is that lightness reduces the danger of knocks whilst also adding comfort. In this aim, Leggera's case is constructed from the extremely light, extremely strong carbon composite similar to that which has become so popular in the automotive industry. The result is a case weighing only about 50 grams, and even with a strap, the weight is barely changed due to a fantastic carbon deployant clasp with a sliding extension. On my 7-inch wrist, this watch feels smaller than 40 mils, something almost entirely due to the weight given the 51mm lug-to-lug length. In this video, however, you're seeing something new too, as these two watches feature limited edition Meteorite dials. Both of these watches, as standard, come with unique dials, whether this is the banded dial of the steel model or the trio of dials available for the Leggera model. With the Meteorite dials, we're given an additional level of luxury due to the 4 billion-year-old crystalline pattern formed by slow cooling under immense pressure. The result is as eye-catching as the beautifully brushed and polished faceted hands and polished markers. My only criticism of these dials is that due to the coloration being rather similar to that of the dial fixtures, legibility is sometimes compromised, and the date window can't be as detailed due to the constraints of working with this material. Even so, you have to marvel at the beauty of it, even if for a purist, the carbon dial available will lower the weight even more. Unfortunately for the timing of this video, the steel version has already sold out all 50 pieces, but if you want a Leggera model, there are a handful still remaining. To see the final party trick of the Essence, you only need to turn out the light for the BGW9 Superluminova to shine brightly for a fair few hours. An important proviso to give is that, courtesy of the balance of elegance with functionality in these new models, they won't beat a dive watch for late night glow, but are more comparable to field watches. In this respect, these watches could do with wider hands to fit with the robust intentions of the case construction. As I'm sure you can tell, I'm impressed by these watches. They're modern, crisp, and most importantly, genuinely innovative for their function. Inevitably, these watches, for their size, design, and overall image, will not be for everyone, but one thing that they can't be accused of is lacking quality. Likewise, these models shown are the most expensive of their respective categories. The fact that you can get a non-chronometer example for as little as £710 staggers the mind. But what do you think of these striking watches? Thank you very much for watching. This is Armon from WatchChronicle.com, out.